Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I have an instructive game to share with you from 1960 on the white end Bobby Fischer, playing against Klaus Darga, an international master for this game, and he'd go on to become a grandmaster in 1964. A computer programmer by profession, French defense on board, the 17-year-old Fischer facing the Winawer variation. He advances. Let's get a few more moves in there. Very familiar imbalance out of this opening. Doubled C pawns for white and a wild dark square bishop. Keep a close eye on this dark square bishop in this game, really the star piece. Okay, we follow up with knight e7, a4, there we go. We got a new square for that bishop. Queen c7, knight f3, and b6. b6 carries with it a threat. Well, not a threat, a plan to exchange light square bishops through the a6 square. How does Fischer interfere with this plan? A simple finesse. Flicks in a check, attracts the bishop to a different diagonal, and says, nope. Okay, no light square bishop exchange. It stays on an active diagonal here, pointing at h7. From here, knight c6, white castles, and black doesn't castle. Black plays c4 here. If black plays copycat, that's a big blunder. There'd be a Greek gift sacrifice on h7 now. Knight g5, queen h5, winning attack for white. Okay, black plays c4 here. The light square bishop is demoted, but you might view this as white's dark square bishop being promoted. Once on a3, it now sees a little bit further. No pawn on c5 anymore. It interacts with white's furthest advanced pawn on the weakest square in black's camp, d6. Okay. After f6, we certainly reach an important middle game position. How would you respond to this move? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, Fischer plays this position in gambit style. He plays the best move, bishop a3. He's giving up a big center pawn with this idea. Let's look at a couple different options. Why does he maybe not take on f6? Well, you give black a file to work with, and you're also building up black's center. Might there be a timely e5, e4, f5, f4? Okay, the black center looking a bit on the intimidating side, maybe after e5. Another detail, if white tries bishop f4 here, trying to hold on to the e5 square. I let this position sit for a bit. My engine, it likes a bunch of different pawn moves, a5, h6, f5. In the end, it seems to lean more towards this f5 push. A word of caution here, if you're playing this position as black, there is a way you can go wrong. If you try g5 here, white would be in a winning position. This diagonal will now either open up or this knight will win the g5 pawn. There's a very serious threat now to capture on this square. e5 square opens up. And if you try to shut it down here, okay, there you go. The g5 pawn is a goner. So g5 would not be a good move here, a blunder for black. Let's have a look at this f5 move. This is considered one of the top moves. Now, if you look at the engine evaluation, it reads around 0.4, but that is a deceptive evaluation in a position type like this, where it is so locked. I think the preference would really be here to play black. And here's why I think that's the case. Black has a clear plan. What would white's plan be here exactly? Shooting for a a5 break is not really working for as long as the knight is around. Knight takes to clean pawn up. The structure remains solid on the queen side. Black's plan in this position would be to shoot for g5. This is where there will be a big fight in this environment. White will try to hold up that break. Black will castle queenside, put a rook on the g file, and even look to weasel the bishop around to h5, preparing to swipe the knight in a timely way, which is a defender of g5, and there you go, g5 right around the corner. Clear plan for black, not so clear plan for white. f5 in a way also says, okay, this diagonal definitely not going to open up, and you're now misplaced. You would really prefer to be back home. You're just the target of an attack now, being on f4. Okay, Fischer plays this as a gambit. Plays bishop a3, gives up a center pawn, and follows with rook to e1. This is where black now blunders, ends up playing knight 7 to c6. What's considered best here is knight 5 to c6. What's the difference? Well, in linking the knights in this way, the bishop from a3 does not see f8 directly. And what does this mean? Black has the option to castle a kingside. Now, if I put on just a couple more moves, this is considered a top line here. White goes in. There's some serious pressure on e6. Calls this around 0.4. A ball game ahead, to be sure. Okay, in this game, it's knight 7 to c6. White is now winning, although Fischer doesn't follow up in the very best way. Black in this game continues with knight takes knight. If you take with the queen, you're going to lose the queen. Bishop h5 check, and there you go. The queen's a goner. So it's knight takes knight. And from here, we have f4. What's considered best is the check on h5, even in this position, preparing to meet g6 with queen d4. And there's a problem here on e5. It says best is to take the bishop, and then rook takes knight. Serious problems for black on the dark squares, to be sure. The fact that the g file opens up is no problem in this situation. This queen is nowhere close to bothering white's kingside. Also a5. Another detail here, by the way, if black tries to be clever, well, I'll just move my knight and defend the rook. We'll hang on. Dark square problems. High defending mate on e7. Queen here, that's not going to cut it. Chop, chop, game over. Okay, at the end of the day, we do not have the check. Instead, it is f4. Fischer's idea, well, he wants access to g4. This is his focus, and it will be tracked down. He will get the material back. The e6 pawn is also pinned, so this is also a move if black is not careful. Black castles. Fischer takes on e6. And the follow-up here is bishop captures bishop. What's considered best is to activate the last piece. Okay, he ends up capturing on e6. The rook is invited into this active square. The follow-up here is rook d7. If the queen captures the pawn, the knight falls. If the rook tries to activate here, white can simply take, exchange on e8, and then the d5 pawn falls. So it's rook d7 here, some defense over the 7th rank. Follow up now, f5, the rook is supported, and f4 is now opened up. Okay, from here, knight d8, attacking the rook, rook e3, queen f4, rook f3, queen e4. All right, this knight maneuver to the back has kicked the rook away from e6, that's true, but it's no longer around watching over that a5 square. So how do you activate this guy? Well, with a simple pawn push. Something's going to happen now on the a file. One way or the other, one of these two pieces will be helped. So in this game, we have knight c6. It gets back to a healthy square. If black plays in a different way, capture or push, well, this bishop would have access to c5. Really fantastic diagonal. And from that square, it's eyeing up a dream square on d4. It immediately become a dominant piece. Another detail, if black responded with b5 here, you may even want to first flick in a6, fixing a pawn on a dark square, and then follow up with bishop c5. In any case, black responds to a5 here with knight c6, ab, ab. This guy is happy. Follow up now, queen b1, the b pawn in the crosshairs, and in the game we have king c7. If black tries to defend in a different way, let's say with the rook, well, this guy now would have access to d6, a real menace cutting in to black's position, black king position. Okay, also, if you play king b7 to defend the pawn, you'd be walking into a pin, and bishop c5 is there, b6 will soon collapse. So in this game, it is king c7. Pop quiz. How would you follow up here? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, to be sure, the best move, or the most aesthetic move of this game, and that is the underdevelopment with the dark square bishop. Bishop c1 it is. Earlier, I pointed out f5, I said it opened up this f4 square. Well, this bishop's ready to arrive on that square with check. There's no stopping it. This is just a deadly idea. Now, one of the things that makes this move special, in my opinion, is that the major pieces are obstructed now on the back rank. They no longer control e1. Black now has a check available. Black goes for it. It's no big deal, though, at the end. White hits right back with the only legal move. Black picks up a half-dead pawn, one of the double isolated pawns. Who cares? Follow up here. Bishop f4 check. King b7. Final pop quiz. How would you continue here? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, final move of this game. Queen b5. Black resigns. This bishop covers these two squares. And right around the corner now is queen a6. And that will be mate. Queen will take away all the other squares. She also x-rays the rook. What options does black have here? None of them are good. Rook a8. Exchange rooks. Take a knight. An alternative, let's say knight b8, holding up. Queen a6 idea, and also defending the rook. Well, we would just have bishop captures knight, and we're winning a piece. Maybe a rook shortly thereafter. But in this one, after queen b5, black simply resigns. This guy here, really the star piece. Bishop a3, bishop c1, back home. And once it was on this diagonal, it wasn't long after black was forced to resign. A real menace, a bishop like this, an unopposed bishop knifing into an enemy king position. Anyhow, what'd you think of this one? Feel free, as usual, to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care.